Welcome to the September 17th, 1:30 City Council meeting. At this time, we will have pledge and prayer. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we just come before you today, Lord, and we just give you thanks and we just give you praise just for who you are. Father, we even just come before you and give you thanks for the city council. We thank you for those that are employed by the city, those that work diligently and hard, Lord, to bring your purposes and plans. And Father God, we just ask right now that you would just guard and protect this city, Lord God. Father, I just ask that you would protect our first responders. And Father, we just, as we make decisions for this city, as we ask for the wisdom and the understanding on what it is that you want to do. And so, Father, we just give you all the praise and the glory for today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, at this time, we'll have questions or comments from any citizens. And I see none, so we'll move on to number 5, the city manager's monthly report. Mr. Spradling.
So we're getting pretty close to the end of the fiscal year, so we've got a pretty good idea of where our fiscal performance is. You'll notice that in the general fund, our expenditures are over our revenues. However, again, remember, we did budget a negative budget with $1.6 million in transfers into capital funds to fund capital projects. Right now, we're at about $600,000 negative, so actually we are likely going to end the year probably somewhere around $1 million in the negative, which means we will be, the budget will have performed $1 million better than what we had expected. So that is a positive, even though it kind of might look like a negative on that. You'll look at, if you notice the sales tax detail, sales tax did end just a little bit up over our revised budget. So we've got about a $7,800 credit there from the amended budget, which is up about $30,000, about $100,000 over what our original budget was. So sales tax continues to be strong. We are seeing that kind of flatten out. Our year-over-year change right now is about 0.5 of 1%. However, September, which was our last month, was 6% over last September. So overall, I think we're holding our own, and that bodes well for the budget going into next year. Overall expenditures are looking to be probably about $500,000 under, and a revenue will end up being probably about $250,000 over budget, so pretty good there. On the water and sewer side, it's a kind of somewhat the similar thing. You will notice that the expenditures are over revenue. Again, we budgeted an $843,000 shortfall as we transferred again into capital projects to do that. We're estimating probably ending the year about $300,000 to the negative, so about a $500,000 positive performance in the water sewer fund. Again, from your charts, you'll see sales tax is still trending better than the 5-year average and over our revenue amount, and we're seeing pretty much the same for a hotel motel tax. So hotel occupancy tax continues to be over our budget and our 5-year average. Of course, that bodes well for our venue and the dome project there. As we get into departments, HR has been busy this week. We did have our first claims review with our new health insurance provider, so our claims are tracking pretty good so far in the first year of the 2-year contract. So our loss ratio is about 60% right now, which means for every dollar paid in premiums, we've paid out about 60 cents. So there is still that cushion. So that's generally about where the health insurance companies look at it. So that'll help mitigate our renewal increase when it is time to renew. Right now, if we continue on this track, we're expecting about a 5 to 8% increase after 2 years, which that'll still leave us about 6% less than what we were paying before we switched providers. So we're going to start working on some other employee outreach as we do open enrollment and stuff like that. We have a little bit of high ER utilization. So I think one of the benefits of a city job is for a lot of our employees, we're their first employer to ever provide health insurance benefits. And so they might not have a primary care doctor or might not even know how to go to the doctor. A lot of times when you can't afford to go to the doctor, you go to the ER because you don't have to pay. And so I think a lot of their habits are just built around going to the ER because that's where you go. So we're going to try to work on that and maybe cut down some of that. We do have all those virtual health benefits and provide some more information on our local clinics. We have also got the salary adjustments into the system. Since the budget's doing well, I've authorized to go ahead and put the October adjustments in one payroll early. So all the employees will get that just a little bit early. OEM, the fire marshal's been working on fixing the safety trailer, or Edith, the exit drills in the house. So they've got the new air conditioner and the new smoke, fake smoke generator thingy, whatever you want to call that. I know that's a very technical term, but it's working, which is good because they've got a whole bunch of stuff planned with it, with Fire Safety Week coming up and all the community events, Stonet's celebration and all that coming up. I've also been working a lot with Excel as we work to coordinate fire response and fire danger responses and communication with that. You have an item on your agenda that we'll discuss a little bit more about this later on us applying for a grant for fire detection cameras. Excel is also already doing some of that and planning on doing some of that. So we're working on ways to help with that, partner with that, and coordinate with that. And the Whistler's also been busy working on our emergency operation plan and updating all those plans and procedures. IT's been busy. We've got a ghost in our network. So there's something that's kind of floating around that's kind of, interrupting the internet here and there. Not mainly making it slow, and it's just enough to kind of make you frustrated, and then it jumps somewhere else. So we think we got probably a bad switch somewhere that they're working on tracking down. So I know that's been taking up a lot of their time. Dispatch is busy. We got one new dispatcher about to start, and they've got 17 interviews scheduled for this week to fill the other vacancy. So they are working through that. They've also got a dispatch booth planned for the Stonett celebration as they kind of try to get out there and be more involved. And of course, they've been working, as they have in the last several years, coordinating that National Night Out. So National Night Out is October 2nd from 6 to 8 p.m. out at the Dome. So that's kind of the community event to where first responders and our public safety agencies are out there to interact with the community in a fun and meaningful way instead of having to interact with them when they need us, which a lot of times is not ideal. We're glad that we can be there for them, but it's kind of hard to build relationships when you're dealing with, medical emergencies, fires, police-related incidents, things like that. And they are getting ready and coordinating their next dispatch symposium. If you remember, we hosted some training for the region here a while back, kind of putting some things together, and that was very well received, so they're working on that. In plant development, Shelby, John, and Johnny both all attended the Texas Plains Building Inspectors Association meeting as they continue to work through their professional development. And they've also completed a land development class. Naomi in that department is scheduled to take her permit technician test on October 2nd, so she's been working on that, and we're excited to see her development continue there. They are working on 2 final plats going through there, and of course we have issued the building permits for the Take 5. That's what's going where the Boomtown Car Wash is being demolished. I should say, I guess it's demolished.
Yeah, demolished,
They
yeah.
didn't waste much time with that, but that is going to end up being a take 5 is what that is. And we have extended our summer help and seasonal help just a little bit longer, moving some budget money around to help take care of that as they are trying to catch up and go hit the right-of-ways around all of the new sidewalks that are becoming a weed area. So we have talked, we're going to get some more sprayers licensed, and they've actually started even looking, there's an attachment we can put on our tractor to spray. So I think we're looking at ways to try to stay on top of that next year, because I think some of those areas are going to be an ongoing issue. I think we've talked about that in our budget work sessions and stuff, that while in some areas the sidewalks are nice, they are going to create some maintenance. The state will mow everything like they do twice a year, but I think that's probably not going to cut it for what most people are thinking. So we're working on that and maybe ways to sweep them or do some other maintenance. And we're going to try to eventually, probably starting in 2026, we'll try to keep a little money set aside in case we need to repair them. The state will allow us to repair them. The state may or may not repair them depending on what their budget is. So some of these sidewalks are some pretty high use areas. So I think we need to be prepared to make sure that they stay up to date. But the code enforcement has been working on that. So in utilities, we did lose a well up in the northwest well field. So probably one of our new wells is going to replace that well. Actually, not the new well is, we'll probably just scoot over it. Pretty much it's kind of collapsed and had some issues in the well. So we'll probably just re-drill it in close proximity to the existing well. So of our 2 new wells, we'll probably end up, one of them will be that, and then one will be another one, which is pretty good because we still haven't found another location for some good well. The electro analysis that we thought we were going to get to do, we can't do because there's a big metal pipeline running through the area where we were wanting to do it. And so, of course, that skews those results. So we're back down to test drilling. We did complete a few other new test holes, but we found some more water again. So we found 2 areas where we found one where we've got good water. We found 2 where we've got some water, but not really what we would like to justify the cost of the well. So, and keep in mind, most of these are just to kind of keep us, have some wells operational and some, downtime for the wells. We're not in need for the water. It's not like we're reaching our capacity and aren't able to supply our water. We're just talking about investing in the future. But we have started the initial discussions with Park Hill about looking and starting the process of identifying some future water rights. So as we move those projects forward, you're going to see probably some more discussions in the coming months and years over the next set of water rights. We do have most of the engineering done for the screw pumps at the wastewater treatment plant. So we've submitted for our permits for those, so that's the next step before we put it out to bid. So once the TCQ signs off on the pump design, we can put those out to bid and see where we come with that. The Utilities Department has also completed the sewer tie-in out at Yucca Estates, and we have pressure tested the water. So water and sewer are now complete out at Yucca Estates and are ready for that. We had got the electrical plans from Excel. The developer got the electrical plans completed and signed off from Excel, so we should see underground electrical work and the bases for streetlights out there going in. So that's moving quite well. The Rock Creek crossing is progressing well, and I sent pictures in that in our weekly update. So all the 3 pylons are poured. They've got the casing on top of it. I kind of wish I'd been out there when they set that casing, because I was surprised when I went out there and saw that they welded the entire casing while still on 3rd Street. And I kind of thought to myself, I wonder how they're going to get it over from 3rd Street in that one big long piece over on the pylons, but they did. Then again, it might be a good thing that I didn't watch them do it. But that is continuing to progress. With that in place, they'll start moving, actually replacing the sewer lines and then eventually transferring all of the flow into the new line. Don't forget that once the sewer crossing is complete, we did award the 2nd Street improvement, so they'll be moving over off of Bryan Street to replace some of the failing sewer in that area. We will be planning on coordinating with the school and kind of already gave them a warning. There will be one day where Bryan Street's going to have to be closed as they dig for that, but we have informed the contractor that needs to be kept to a minimum, and it should just be the one day. In the fire department, they actually got to teach the high school culinary class some kitchen fire safety and how to use a fire extinguisher. So, I don't know who they cook like, if they're worried about like that, but the fire department also helped Snack Pack for Kid along with the police department this week for their first snack pack packing of the year. Jesse Garza in our EMS department has passed his National Registry paramedic exam, so we do have one more new paramedic. So we're excited for him and all of that. And then Noah Valdez has completed his driver operator and aerial operation certification, so he's now fully certified as a driver operator. In Public Works, of course, we helped with the cook-off this weekend, hauling trash and doing all of that. Wayne, Winston, and Jason also went to the Keep Texas Beautiful training. I did send that out thanks to everybody's hard work and coordination. We are an official designated Keep Texas Beautiful affiliate again. So that's more on Deidre's plate there. But that kind of takes Jason and Deidre, but we're proud to be that back. I've been working through the Johnson Park Youth Pool Project, kind of updated y'all on that. We did have our first site meeting after the first month of work. Most of the demolition is done. They've got the pad just about ready for the new pump house. Should be going into footings and foundations and getting that ready for the next month. Right now, we are on schedule probably to be finished sometime in March.
That'd be great.
So, there's a lot of, weather between now and then, but so far, everything on that project is going pretty smooth, so we're excited about that. That will give us a lot of opportunity to get people trained and figure out some things. At this point, I'm probably, we'll look on opening it again with free attendance like we always do, and we might have since it is so much different and the operations are going to be different, we'll probably have a soft opening with city employees and council and everything, probably the day before the public or something. We'll plan something just to kind of make sure that we're all ready to go with that. We did get a good quote on the finishing and resurfacing the slides, so that amount was less than our contingency, so we will be able to get that done within the project scope without any additional money. That's probably going to happen pretty soon. The guy would like to do that in the fall, and they'll do that right after. Right now, we're having to remove 3 sections of each slide because we are redoing the gutters, so the slides go over the gutters. But other than that, everything out there is looking pretty good. On 10th Street, we are moving again on the surface after all the utilities are complete. So they actually about 4 days ahead of schedule from the additional schedule. They were supposed to start concrete stabilization yesterday. They did that last Wednesday. And so they were going to be finished with bringing in the base by the end of this week. They're just about finished with that already right now, and I think we'll probably start seeing curb, gutter, and concrete work begin later this week. So we are progressing pretty good with that. Once they get to curb and gutter on the street side, they will go ahead and start working on the other half of the Megger parking lot, so that it'll be ready for the concrete contractor to move right over to that right while he's here, so we don't have to leave and come back up. So Jason and Winston and Public Works have been keeping on top of that. Do want to thank our sewer crew. We did last minute run into a abandoned gas line that was too shallow. The gas company was pretty quick in at least responding to let us know that it was abandoned, but they didn't have time to remove it. So the utility guys kind of pivoted real quick and got that removed for us, so we didn't lose any more time on the street. So if you've been out there, they do have the grade just about. They were getting pretty close yesterday when I drove by, so it's definitely a lot of progress in the last week. So we're glad to see that progressing as well. In the police division, the animal control did get their new truck now that they've been waiting on for about a year and a half. Definitely is a much improvement to what they've been using. It does look a lot different. We've got an actual animal control box built for the truck. The plan is that box should be able to be reused, and we just changed the chassis out under it as the truck needs to be. But having a box like that, it brings all the cages and all the equipment down to a more ergonomic level. Actually, the big animal cage in it, it's on a winch, so you pull it out and it drops to the ground. So if you're fighting a tiger, you don't have to try to figure out how to get it into the back of the bed of the truck and then into the cage. So it's definitely a big improvement. There's even a winch. It's got a dead animal compartment in the back, so there's a winch in that. So if you're picking up game or other things that are sometimes victims of road incidents, I know if they hit your car, you don't think of them as the victim, but anyway, so that helps get them into the truck. So definitely a lot of things to help keep our employees safer and do their job more efficient. Definitely looks a lot better, and I know that they're proud to have that. Daryl doesn't smile too much, but he cracks a little bit of a smile when he talks about the truck, I think. So then in the police department, of course, for those of y'all that were at the Kiwanis event, you saw the honor guard there for the PD open the diamond revealment for that. The Motors unit went to Wheeler County at their request to support one of their community events. So always glad to make our name a little known everywhere else. We're also working with our DEA task force agents, and some of that had a anti-crime task force come through town and do a few things. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about that, but it was productive. But we want to make sure that we're keeping everybody kind of on their toes and reminding people that this is not the place to do that. Of course, we also then supported the Stinnett, little incident Stinnett a couple days ago. So Lieutenant Morris was up flying the drone, providing support for that. And of course, Lieutenant Guzman negotiated the safe conclusion of that. So glad to see some of our training and investment in our people paying off and helping our other communities around here. The next police recruits are scheduled for testing August 21st as we work through that process. You might start seeing that the Levelland Academy now is doing 2 academies a year. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility. So depending on where our staffing is, we might start doing that twice a year instead of just once a year. Maybe send fewer people through more often than trying to focus on one. So we're kind of excited to see how that flexibility might impact what we do. In finance, the auditor was here for 3 days, or actually here 4 days, but they finished all their work in 3 days. So that's a big pat on the back for Terry and the finance team, Terry, Christy, and Sarah. They had most everything already ready in big binders, so they got done before they had planned in their allotted time. So we are progressing quite well on that. We're also getting ready for our ERP Pro 10 transition. So we talked a little while back in the budget process that we're finally updating our financial software that has pretty much been unchanged since the 90s. So we're excited, scared, and nervous all at the same time, but it needs to be done. So we hope that'll be going pretty smooth. We also did, doing some auditing, found that our rates with Cintas were different at a bunch of different facilities, so we've combined those all together, and finance has negotiated a government rate to save us some money on all those Cintas contracts. We've also been working on all the paperwork necessary to get our fair sharing agreement set up with the DEA for seized assets as we partner with that, so that's progressing pretty well. In public engagement, of course, busy as always. Did get the Keep Texas Beautiful affiliate back. They've been working on the Main Street Project board. The public part of that link's down. Still a few board members short. If you know anybody that's interested in Main Street or wants to help be on that board and help kind of guide Main Street redevelopment, be sure to get them in touch with Deidre or Nicole, and they can get them some information. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to do some things downtown as we progress forward with that. The Youth Advisory Council is pretty busy with a whole bunch of stuff coming up. They've got a car meetup scheduled for this Saturday at the Johnson Park Youth Center. So kind of just started hanging out at the park, trying to do kind of a organized, supervised meet to show off cars, to where maybe we can mitigate some of the unintended side effects of the non-organized car meetups. So they're excited about that. They also have a homecoming dance scheduled for the 27th. And then they're working on several events to have at the youth center during school holidays. So they're kind of wanting to, host and have different things to get people exposed to the youth center and some of the things that it has to offer. So they're looking for like a Friendsgiving event for Thanksgiving and some video game tournaments or something over Christmas. So they're working through a whole lot of things. Of course, we are in the home stretch now getting ready for Boomtoberfest. So as you'll notice, we did have the 5 bands announced that were going to participate in the Battle of the Bands. I had a little 59 submissions that they went through to try to narrow down to 5. Was kind of hard. We were looking for bands that had original music, bands that spanned a bunch of several genres, so that we're not all tied to the one genre, and from different areas of the state. Why, of course, we wanted some local. We also wanted some other. If we bring them in from the outside, they have to buy hotel rooms. And if they have to buy hotel rooms, then we get some of the revenue off of that. So all of that went into the factor of some of that. So we ended up with 2 rock bands, 2 alternate rock bands, and 2 country bands. So gonna have rock, alternate rock, which to me is kind of more popish, and then the country. So a little bit of music for everybody going on that day. But we do have one local band. One from Oklahoma, one from Louisiana, and 2 from other parts of the state. So for the most part, they're somewhat around here, but they were definitely, Deidre and Nicole were pulling their hair out trying to pick who the winners were.
Very hard. I bet it was tough.
So we're already working on kind of modifying things next year so that we can have room for more and cover and provide a lot more. So that's excited for that. Be looking out for some more information on Boomtoberfest. I think one of the things that definitely we're going to do pretty soon is probably start pre-selling carnival tickets for those that have kids. So to kind of help cut down on the line at Boomtoberfest, there'll probably be a small cost savings if you go and pre-buy your carnival tickets at the youth center.
Would it be like a wristband or kind of?
We had talked about that, and we decided not to do a wristband, right?
Yeah.
And so we're just going to do tickets, so they'll probably be just, have we decided how we,
We're still
kind of like finalizing details on the
Based on the
pricing.
rides, there's probably, we're gonna try to keep it simple, so there's gonna be probably some rides that are one ticket and some rides that are two tickets. And then just have a set price for the tickets. So, it's not gonna be like 5 or 10 tickets, because we don't wanna hand out.
So these are gonna be like rides, like it's not gonna be just all like bounce houses and things like that.
No.
I've had someone ask me that and I'm like, well, I better ask.
No, there's like a
So there's gonna be
40-foot,
ride
Yeah,
rides.
there's like a 40-foot
a Ferris wheel,
Okay.
and then there's
and the egg scrambler thing,
Yeah, there's a-
and
Where are you gonna put this, by the way?
It's going to be in the Dome parking lot. So the actual
Okay.
Battle of the Bands is going to be in the grassy knoll that's across from the Dome.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of set up like
Okay.
the carnival was in the years past. It's just not as big as the Pride of Texas.
Okay.
the 5 rides, is that?
Okay. Yeah, I've just had some people ask me and I'm like, I have no idea. I need to
No,
ask.
and then, I mean, it's kind of good for all different age groups
Okay.
too. So something for everybody.
It's not gonna be ginormous, but they are real rides,
Yeah.
and we're setting a price point. This is not gonna be Tri-State Fair prices.
No.
Okay, yeah.
So, we're not trying to make money on it, we're trying to cover our costs, so it should be, I think, very cost-effective for families and community members to come out there and put their kids on it. So, we're talking somewhere between like $2 and $4 a
Right.
ticket.
Oh, okay.
So like
That's good.
$2
That's good.
per ride, so, I mean, it's gonna be,
It'll be really
Okay.
doable.
That's cool.
there again, since it's a city-sponsored event, like I said, we're not trying to pad the city's coffers with this. This is a community event, and we want
Absolutely.
the community to join. The difference is, you're not gonna have all those little games of chance. You're not gonna have concessions as part of the carnival. We'll have a lot of food trucks.
Okay.
And so that was kind of their request, and so to get more requests, and that works better anyway, so. But so be looking on that, and then, like I said, we'll give you some sort of, there's probably gonna be a book price too, so like, $2 for a ticket, or $8 for 10, or a book,
Yeah.
something like that, and then there'll be a discount of some sort if you buy them before the event. If you're buying them the day of the carnival, there'll be a
Yeah.
Okay.
full price, but
We are going to get to use the ticket window though out of the Dome that we
Oh, wow.
never
Oh, well,
thought we
that'll
would
be
get.
fun. I was gonna say, you hadn't done it yet.
It'd be like it's new.
So, but we do have all of that, don't forget, this all starts Friday with the car cruise and the burnout contest and the beer garden and all the stuff going on downtown, so that did really well last year. We expect it to do as well or better this year. Starting Saturday out at the airport with the car fly-in and cruise, so you got the car show and the static air show. Like, you can go look at all the different airplanes coming in while you're looking at all the different cars, vote, do things like that. They do have at least one yellow belly coming in that will give rides, so if you want to pay for the ride, you can get a ride in an airplane. And so that's all at the airport Saturday morning. Then everything out at the Dome and the music festival starts at 3. And so we've got the 6 bands going through that, the carnival, and all of that. Then, of course, it ends Sunday with the fish fry at the Dome, bounce houses, the power wheel race, and all of that. So that is October 9th.
Right?
Yeah. I'm entered. Pete.
10th, 11th.
10th and 11th, that Friday.
Wait a minute, 11th. Don't get me lying to you. 11th
12,
through the
13th.
13th.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11th, 12th, and 13th. So make sure you got that marked on your calendar and some time set aside. That should be a really good event this year. We're excited for that. We did do our North Hughes neighborhood cleanup event this last month too. They collected about 4,000 pounds of bulk items and junky waste, helping clean up that. Deidre and Nicole, we've also finishing up our 2025 event list, so pretty soon we'll have, the city's events for the next year planned out and hosted. They're also kind of working on a event hosting DIY kit, some things to help make sure that the community can host event and what they need to do, so that maybe we can support some events and encourage more events, but us not have to do everything. We are continuing to work fine tuning the details of our Citizens Academy, so that's likely going to start in January. Be 8 sessions on a Thursday night for about 2 or 3 hours. So this is kind of like the city session and Leadership Borger, but in more depth, where we have more time dedicated to each department. Try to give citizens a little better understanding of why we do what we do, how we do what we do, and some of the limitations and some of the things that are going on. So we always get a lot of good feedback from that session in Leadership Borger, so we kind of want to open that up outside of that program and give people some opportunities to
Will
take
that
care
be
of that.
hosted here?
It'll probably be hosted in several different locations depending on what subject we're covering that day.
But it's pre-enrollment?
Yeah, well-
What's the cost to the individual?
It'll be free.
Just trying to get it out there.
Yep, it'll be free and we'll have an enrollment. It'll go out online in our social media. We'll have a paper form here for available and we'll do it in time to include it in the Boomtown Beat so that it gets out in the newsletter and the water bill. We also have the Halloween Carnival coming up again, so that's on Halloween. So if any of y'all would like to volunteer or help, if Kim's voice is still up for
Cakewalk again.
we will make sure
do the
that all of the
cakewalk
cakes
again.
are exactly the same.
Oh, my.
We will pre-order something and make sure that they're all the same so we don't fight over who wants what cake.
Yeah, that was fun.
But, that has been kind of growing every year, so that's been pretty good. We're excited for that. They did sell out the Tall Tale Tours again this year, so that's coming up. And then, of course, we are starting to, as Boomtoberfest gets behind us, we are getting ready to host the ice rink again at the Dome this year, so we've got some things planned for that. I think we're going to have a little concession of our own this year, just for a few things, since
Like
we
hot
had
chocolate and stuff like that.
some issues getting, we tried to get vendors or organizations to come do that. It was kind of a little hard to get people to want to do that, so we'll do that this year. We do have a new animated musical Christmas tree ordered that'll be in the Dome, that'll go in that, so it'll, it's got all those multicolored lights, and so it'll do little things to the set music, so we're excited about that, so it'll definitely be a holiday.
Will it be on the ground or mounted in the ceiling or?
It'll be on the ground.
On the ground.
So it's just a little bit smaller than the one we set outside on Main Street, but not
It's
much.
big.
Really, that big?
It's, I think, 25 feet.
It's animated, it gets up and walks around.
But it'll be good picture opportunities and stuff too, and so we are looking forward to that. We're going to have some different hours this year, and we're going to have more hours set aside for private parties, if people want to come book private parties out there, so we'll do that earlier in the day, with the public hours being a little later in the afternoon and evening. We did have some schools and stuff want to take advantage of that last year, so we'll kind of
You're
work
gonna
on.
have a professional photographer there?
I mean, it's open to anybody that wants to do that. We had a few people signed up last year, but I don't think anybody went through with it. So, I mean, we're gonna open it back up and encourage that, because, I mean, it's a beautiful setting,
Right, and
so.
the city's gonna be the only vendor then, or you're not gonna open it up to
No,
other
we are
vendors?
gonna open it up.
Okay.
And try to get more people out there. We had a lot of feedback from the community that they wanted, things like hot chocolate and concessions, and I think the vendors were afraid people weren't gonna want that, and
Right.
that's the bulk of the feedback we got, is they wish they would have had those things. So we're gonna make sure that if we don't get all of those types of vendors signed up, then we're gonna at least
Right.
be able to do some of it.
Well,
But
last year was a bit of an unknown for everybody.
Right.
And so this year going into it, we have some attendance numbers and kind of people know what to expect. So we expect a little bit of better feedback. We are going to offer sponsorship banners around the ice rink this year to help offset some of the costs on that stuff too.
we're gonna try to block off, have certain days for parties and stuff too, so that way the overall scheduling is consistent. I know last year it was kind of, if a party was booked, then we would have to kind of last minute let the public know that they couldn't come during those times. So we're gonna
Right.
make sure it's a whole lot more simpler this year. And we're gonna have some themed days or nights for people to come. We're gonna try to do something kind of similar to a Disney on Ice type thing.
Which is
So-
probably why they were asking me if I could fit
We just asked how he felt about the movie Frozen.
that's not exactly what they asked.
We have some costumes available, and he might be the right size.
Hold on.
I told them, luckily for me, all final approval has to come across my desk. So
That's
You can't be
hilarious.
voted number one?
I can delegate many things. While I choose not to delegate everything, that might be one of the things.
Brandon did get thrown out there a few.
I saw Donna pointing the finger over there,
Well, what we might end up having to do is have fire pup on ice or something, so.
I'll do Olaf.
Yes.
I'm not doing, is it on? Elsa?
Anyway, that's,
An ice cold pop? D.
Oh, we've already, that was the other feedback. We're trying to add more parties to the mix.
One of them was at Easter, and I told them that was just going to be more of a bark extravaganza
There you go.
instead of a,
That's
Easter
hilarious.
egg.
You're just egging them on now.
so that's where we're at for this month or last month. Any questions, anything else I can answer?
Oh, I think it's good.
That's
I just say thank you to everybody that does what you do in the city. I don't think people understand. You know, I've been on this council for 4 years, and I'm just always blown away at what everybody's doing. So thank y'all. Thank y'all very, very much. Is that it? Anybody got questions? All right, well then I'll entertain a motion for, excuse me. We'll move on to the consent agenda, 6 through, 9.
I make a motion to approve agendas, consent agendas 6 through 9. I'll second.
Well, you figured that one. All in favor?
Yeah, I
Let's
thought
try
that was easy
this
for me to
again.
say.
All right. Item number 10, consider and take appropriate action on ordinance O-009-24, authorizing the issuance of City of Borger, Texas tax notes, Series 2024, levying an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law for the payment of the obligations and other matters incident and related thereto. Mr. Spelling.
Of course, Andrew is here to help answer any questions and stuff too. I would remind you, this is the financing portion to the City Hall project that was awarded at the last 2 council meetings ago. I would just kind of remind, after seeing some feedback and stuff like that, remember a lot of what we're doing are building systems that dated back to 1984. So heating and air ductwork,
Yes.
plumbing, sewer. You know, if you recall, we have a sewer main, or part of the sewer main in the basement break that luckily wasn't over any of our records, but was pretty close. Closer than I think Stella would have
Yeah.
preferred. You know, so this is replacing like doors in the front where the panels are starting to fall off. I mean, this isn't necessarily luxury. You know, we are doing things that these systems have been in place for 40-something years now. So, I mean, we are trying to keep this building, cost-effective and usable for the future. You will notice, and Andrew will go over some of this stuff, but we did get an interest rate slightly lower than what we had anticipated and put in our financial projections. So the benefit of issuing the short-term note has even just a little bit more benefit, to save us cost over the long run. But I'll let Andrew fill in anything he thinks I didn't fill in, or.
No, I'm just adding on to what you've already said. Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets, financial advisor to the city. It's good to be before you all. I handed out the final numbers. They're on your dais. $1,550,000 if you all approve it this afternoon. Funds would be delivered to the city on October 15th. You're talking about doing improvements to this City Hall building. I would only add, this is being amortized over a 5-year period for improvements that'll last, I think with any hope, next 15, 20 years. So an effective way of paying for these improvements. That rate, 3.95%, is great. Garrett and I were visiting before the meeting and leading up to this. There's a disparity in the market where the money you have in the bank is you're getting interest on that to the tune of 4.5%, 5% or beyond. And so we're at an interesting dynamic in the interest rate environment where we're borrowing at lower interest rates than you are receiving on the cash you have in the bank, which I think is a positive. Of course, there's no way to know how long that will last. The Federal Reserve is meeting this week to hopefully start cutting rates. But we are locking in that 3.95% for 5 years. So I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you have. Very straightforward in terms of this financing, but appreciate your time this afternoon.
I will just add, overall, like we mentioned the last time, overall in our debt position, we will still pay down more debt next year than what we have even issuing this, because our principal payments citywide are more than $1.5 million a year.
That is very true.
And so overall, we're not adding, we're adding debt, but we will still just we're not adding to the total amount. We'll still end next year with less debt than we have this year, because it is such a small issuance. on such a short term. And the budget payments, are in our budget, and in the CIP, we had planned on doing this, piecemealing this project, so the money we will spend on payments, we had planned on putting into the project anyway, so it's not, while the motion of the ordinance is backing this by ad valorem taxes, this is not increasing your taxes. You have already set the tax rate for next year.
Yes.
So this is not impacting that. We did adopt the no new revenue tax rate, so the tax rate is the same. But because it is backed by the full faith of the government, we do get that lower tax rate. I think most everybody in this community would be thrilled if they got a 3.95 interest rate on anything right now that they were financing. So that is benefit to our strong financial position and our financial policies that we can do this. We will get that in the bank. It will take months to spend that out as we're working on the project, so we will earn some additional interest, which was into our consideration, which is why overall doing this project at once is cheaper than doing it in phases over the next 4 years.
And also get the discount by using the same people.
And that's because since the general contractor is doing the swimming pool project at the same time, there are some cost savings there, which is really why it is cheaper to go ahead and do it this year in one fell swoop. And so, it is important to have facilities that serve and keep our employees in comfort, as they're working and serving the citizens, that can be used by the citizens and provide those high quality services. The changes to this room will make it a lot more functional for a lot of other abilities, and mainly we're just making sure that when we use the bathroom, we're not destroying documents in the basement.
Right.
Or when we come in, we're not sweating because all of the compressors have finally broken. Or we can get rid of some of the fans because we won't be fighting. Stella won't. I'm going to use kind of an old one because it used to be a fight between Stella and Kathy on what the temperature was set at, because the front half of that side, it still somewhat is. The new roof and the insulation has helped quite a bit, but I know that I think Whistler and most of his people down there are excited to go into the basement bathroom and not have to worry about loose tile or where they step.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this is needed. I think I'm finally getting old enough to where I understand more how fast time goes. But I think people forget that, this building was 1984. That's now 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And nothing, for the most part, we've maintained, but nothing has been replaced. So if you go into that closet and look at those air handlers, they're 1984 air handlers. And not everything, like if you still look above this drop ceiling, the Woolsworth lights are still up there.
Collector's edition.
Yeah, they might be worth something now. But so,
Now, I just want to bring that out to let everybody know that's watching and stuff. The council has taken us all into very careful consideration. We just don't jump out and borrow money. Because there's reasons why we're doing this, and it's because it's cost effective. I've said my 2 cents, I'm out.
Absolutely.
I just encourage the citizens to go out and read these things and look at them. And if you have questions, come ask.
No bidets.
So,
yeah, the bathroom does not include bidets.
Want to put that out there. That was on Facebook.
I think it was said in somewhat a lighthearted, that comment had good and bad on both sides of it, but, we're not we are not, this is not going to be the Taj Mahal. They are, basic things. But I will also remind, the community of this council is this is the last building we've gotten to. So we have prioritized public safety, the police department, the fire department, the dome, the youth center. We've done a lot of other facility improvements. City Hall is the last one on the list. So we have, tried to take some of those priorities into consideration.
okay. Any more questions? Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
Okay, well, I entertain a motion.
I move that the city council approve ordinance O-009-24, authorizing the issuance of City of Borger, Texas tax notes, Series 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor? And it passes. Everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. Good to see you all.
Move on to item 11, consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-023-24, denying Southwestern Public Services Company proposed rate surcharge, authorizing the city's continued participation with other cities in the AXM, to direct the activities of lawyers and consultants, authorizing the engagement of attorneys and consultants, authorizing intervention and participation in related rate proceedings, and requiring reimbursement of reasonable legal and consultant expenses. Mr. Spradling.
So this is the last kind of official action required on the last full rate case that was filed in, last year. And so we've reached a settlement on the actual bait rates charges. The way that the state law works on this is the utility company can add a surcharge for what they call the relate back period. So that's the period of time from when they proposed the new rates to when the rates were finally approved. So they can go back and add a surcharge to collect the money they would have earned if that rate had been in effect back when they proposed it. So part of that surcharge can include interest that they could have earned on that money while it was in the bank, and some other charges. And so what this, by denying it, keep in mind that cities have original jurisdiction. So we participate in AXM and we deny it to get all of this back into the PUC so that we can do it all together as one group. And so what this does is by all the cities denying it, it'll go back to the PUC where we can then intervene and present testimony. So what's at issue here is, for the most part, the interest rate that they think they're earned. And then the other big thing is they're wanting that surcharge to be in effect for 12 months, which is a pretty short period. So, it's kind of like, paying off a note, the shorter you're collecting the money back in, the higher that surcharge is. So the opinion and direction of AXM, the Alliance of Excellent Municipalities, is A, we think they're trying to include an interest rate that's slightly higher than what is due, because since they haven't incurred that money, that interest is extra revenue. And so we want to make sure that they're not adding any extra revenue on top of that. And then we want to try to negotiate, maybe dragging that 12 months into 18 months to reduce the impact on your monthly bill just a little bit going forward.
Yeah.
And so we did, if you recall, we negotiated down about $80 million reduction in the total base rates to begin with. And so now we're actually kind of trying to work on what that actual surcharge impact on a resident's bills will be. And so that's what this does. I think this is a benefit of being in a regulated area versus the unregulated area of Texas, which is ERCOT. You don't have this going back and forth because you supposedly have competition to where you can go choose your power provider if you don't like the rates. I'm not for sure that's exactly how that really works down there. But we do have decent investment. And we hear all the time about ERCOT losing power, possibly losing power, the impacts that Houston had with their distribution after the hurricane. Luckily, for the most part, we don't have a lot of problems. And when they do, they're isolated one-offs. I know we had a power failure recently in the central core that was just a piece of equipment that failed at a substation. So, that happens. It wasn't that the system wasn't good. So this will deny that and put everything into the PUC to where we'll try to negotiate a lower interest carrying rate and then a longer period of time to collect the surcharge to minimize impact on everybody's bills. Questions?
I'm just glad we get to do this.
We do get a little bit of say in how that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
and drive it up.
Yeah, I'm grateful we get to do this.
In this case, drive it down.
So are there any questions? I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution R-023-24, denying Southwestern Public Service Company's proposed rate surcharge, authorizing the city's continued participation with other cities in the Alliance of Excellent Municipalities, AXM, to direct the activities of lawyers, consultants, authorizing the engagement of attorneys and consultants, authorizing intervention and participation in related rate proceedings, and in requiring reimbursement of reasonable legal and consultant expenses.
Can you tell a lawyer was involved in that?
Second. Lubricate my tongue.
All in favor? And it passes. Moving on to item 12. Consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-024-24, authorizing submitting a grant application for a FEMA hazard mitigation grant for a fire detection camera system. Mr. Whistler.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
So as we all remember, the wildfires that we had back in February, the Windy Deuce, Smokehouse Creek Fire. As a result of those two fires, 2 FMAGS Fire Management Assistant Grants were awarded to jurisdictions impacted by the fire. That translated into a grant funding opportunity of right at $1.9 million that was available in a hazard mitigation grant program. The purpose is to help make municipalities and local jurisdictions more resistant to these effects of what we've seen these wildfires can do. We're limited on what we can do with mitigation grants. As you know, we have a credible fire department mitigation team that gets out and they do a lot of mitigation work, prescribed fire, things like that. These grants cannot be used for prescribed fire. They cannot be used to buy radios. They have to be used for other preventative things to help, again, lessen that impact. So with this grant application that we're requesting authorization to submit for is a wildfire detection system. As you all know, our fires move very fast. They're very explosive. Every minute counts, and when we get further out in the rural areas away from the municipalities, that population density around Hutchinson County drops dramatically to almost, I think it's around 7 people per square mile. If we go south into Carson County, you know how many people per square mile we got down there on our, southern border. Maybe 1 per square mile, if that. The less eyes we have in the rural areas, and that's where these big fires start and gain their steam and momentum to threaten our community, the longer it takes before they're detected. So we started exploring this and met with the Texas Department of Emergency Management, and we were doing some brainstorming. And we said, man, what we need is a camera system with artificial intelligence that can help to be the lookout. Because sometimes I'm the lookout. Me and the fire guys will be out driving around on these high fire danger days looking for smoke on the horizon. We'll look at our existing cameras and we're just kind of watching the horizon, trying not to get seasick, watching the camera go around and around. While we were meeting with Texas Department of Emergency Management, they brought up that Maui actually has started to implement this, which I'd volunteer to go down and check out myself.
Oh, we would
But after
too.
their wildfires they had, we've also...
He hasn't quite convinced me of the need of that yet.
Since then, we've also learned that Austin, this fire department, Austin is also using similar technology, and so are several private utility companies are using this technology. It seems like something that might be of benefit to our community. We have relatively flat ground, so we've got a pretty good camera view and we don't have blowing dust. It seems like a viable option. And so right now, that's kind of one of the projects we're looking at for this hazard mitigation grant program. With the procurement processes and the potential dollar amounts, we have not gone out for formal request for proposal yet. We're kind of estimating what this cost might be. And again, with the $1.9 million grant fund, we're looking to capitalize on as much of that as we can. We've got some preliminary ballpark cost ideas off the Rolls-Royce system. Doesn't mean we're going to go with that system, but regardless, with the grant application coming to a close, we need to basically get your permission, this council meeting, to commit a 25% match to something less than the full grant capability, which is $1.9 million. We're not thinking it's going to be that much, but again, we're wanting to be fair and let vendors solicit their products and independently look at their pricing and their features that they're offering. We are asking, though, that a 25% potentially, I know you guys need a potential ballpark dollar amount. We're thinking it could be $425,000, could be our 25%. It may come in a lot less. And we are still looking at other partnerships to help offset that cost to the jurisdiction. So But again, like I said, at this point in the game, we can't delve into that too much, nor would it really be that beneficial since we haven't been awarded the grant. So this request is just authorize the council's commitment that if we are awarded a grant and we do find a vendor that meets our specifications, that the council would agree to that 25%.
If we get the grant, we will be committed to fund some portion of that. The $425,000 should be easy to come up with. This year alone, we did a little over $2.2 million in capital improvements. So, the money is in the operating budget. We might have, depending on what it is. I do feel pretty confident that there's a good chance of getting a significant portion or most of that funded by a corporate coordinating sponsor. There are lots of industries in our ETJ that are impacted by wildfire that could benefit by having access to this technology and stuff like that. So there are definitely opportunities for that. Worst case scenario, we have to pay for it ourselves. It's still a $1.7 million project that we're only going to have to spend $400,000 on. That $400,000 is worth about 10% of our reserve. So even if we have to dip down the reserve just a little bit, should we get the grant funding, I think it should be, is easily achievable. So it is far enough out as it will get to go through a budget process. So we will get the budget for that match.
So this is kind of a if this, then that type request, If approved for the grant, then and if we find a product we want, we can always reject this at some point in time.
Okay.
So this isn't a ironclad commitment that we're going to spend that much money, but just the option.
We will
that
have to
if we do
spend
find
something if we're awarded the grant.
Yeah. If we're awarded the grant, we'll have to,
But pretty much the decision today is, A, do you think that that's a worthwhile project, that if we're
Yeah.
awarded the grant, you want to invest the money in it?
It is. I understand what you're talking about, riding around in dust.
Yes.
So I'm on board with this 100%. Anything that will, help protect our community and the surrounding area. If this will help, I'm on board.
I agree. Any questions? Thank you, Jason. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution R-024-24, authorizing a grant application for a FEMA hazard mitigation grant for a city detection camera system, and authorize city manager and assistant city manager to act on behalf of the city in all matters pertaining to the grant.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, sir. I think 13 is yours also, isn't it? Number 13, we consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-025-24, declaring 7 outdoor warning sirens as surplus property and authorizing the transfer to Moore County. Mr. Whistler.
We've actually, this may sound familiar to some of you, we were actually going to do this previously with a different jurisdiction. After the award, after the council agreed to that resolution, they backed out, just mainly because our sirens require 3-phase power, and the rural communities they wanted to install them at could not provide that. We put this information out again to the Panhandle Regional Planning Commission, who reached out to all jurisdictions, and Moore County has reached out, and they're willing to take these. Part of the reason we're wanting to do these is because these sirens are decommissioned by us. They don't work with our current siren system that we have. And eventually we're going to have to bear the expense to remove them off these poles instead of having these obsolete sirens around. In doing this, Moore County will bear that responsibility to come and remove those and save us the burden, which is roughly, we've removed one and it cost a little over $1,000 just to have one removed. So this potentially could save us $7,000, and it provides a good benefit to Moore County for them to refurbish them and put them in some of their more rural areas. So to us, it's kind of a win-win and really a $0 impact.
Okay. I think that's great. Any questions?
No.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution R-025-24, declaring 7 outdoor warning sirens as surplus property and authorizing the city manager to sign any documents necessary for the transfer to Moore County.
Second.
All in favor? And it passes. Thank you, sir. Item number 14, consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-026-24, reviewing and updating the City of Borger's investment policy pursuant to the Public Funds Investment Act. Mr. Spradling.
Well, Terry looked out. I meant to put her name on this item, and I guess I forgot. But there's not a whole lot to say. We are required to annually review our investment policies.
Yes.
Of course, this year, for the first time in quite a while, there are no changes. You know, last several years, we've had personnel changes that have required changes to signatories and things like that we've done as part of that review. But this year, you're stuck with most of this staff for a while, probably, so,
Okay.
you know, which I know probably most of y'all are happy with, but.
They did a great job.
But so with that, there are no other changes, so all this ordinance does is just say, you looked at it, and our current policy is still good. I will say that we have done quite well with our investment portfolio. You know, as interest rates have been up, you know, last year we made a little over $1.2 million. Probably a little less this year since we spent down some cash, but we have been a little more active in that. Like I was telling our financial advisor earlier, we did lock in a 3-year CD earlier this year for 5%. Because we had a pretty good idea that interest rates were going to go down a little bit. So while everything's making a little more than 5% now, I don't think that that's going to be true for the length of that. So we have done some steps to lock in some little longer returns to make sure that we're maximizing our investments. For the most part, it's pretty simple. State law prohibits what we can invest in, and this does comply with that. So, you know, it's all secure. There's really no risk in anything that we invest in. But I'll answer any other questions that you might have, or if you have a question for Terry, she can answer.
You guys have anything?
No.
You got anything, Terry?
She's good. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution R-026-24, reviewing the City of Borger's investment policy.
Second.
All in favor? And it passes. Resolution, let's do 15. Consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-027-24, authorizing a multiple use agreement between the City of Borger and the Texas Department of Transportation for the construction, use, and installation of the flock traffic cameras located within the state right-of-way. Chief Davis.
Good afternoon, council. So I'm back again. This is basically the same thing we talked about last meeting. Further research after I did the presentation.
He's being nice. I screwed up and didn't read the contract, and it said by resolution.
Okay, so Garrett screwed up and didn't do this as resolution. I was trying, did you see there?
Yeah, and I went without
I was
saying.
fixing to take the whole blame for that. Anyways, we do need a resolution for the last, what we agreed upon with the great MOU through TxDOT to be able to place our traffic cameras, so that's the purpose of this.
Leave it to the state to overcomplicate everything, you know, so.
Sure.
Too many lawyers.
Okay, I don't have any, we talked about this last time, so it's
Yes.
good. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution R-027-24, authorizing a multiple use agreement between the City of Borger and the Texas Department of Transportation for the construction, use, and installation of the flock traffic cameras located within the state right-of-way.
Second.
All in favor?
Sorry.
And it passes. I think we're about to go to sleep on that one. Let's see, number 16, consider and take appropriate action to cancel or reschedule the October 15th, 2024 regular city council meeting. Mr. Spradling.
Of course, most of the council will be at TML the week before that.
Yeah.
So we'll be getting back pretty late that Friday night, which is when the packet would normally go out for the October 15th meeting. So since we really don't have time to prepare for that meeting, right now we don't have anything pressing that I think is going to have to be on it. I thought it would be easier to just go ahead and cancel that. I have gone ahead and looked at the calendar through the next year. All of our other typical holidays are not in conflict this year. So this is kind of the only one for probably the next 12 months that we should have. We do have some pretty good development going on with 828. So there might be a special meeting to fill in and get something approved if we need it, you know, since we're canceling this meeting. But other than that, we should be able to work around everything.
Okay.
And besides, I'm not sure the council's going to want to read a packet while we're driving back from Houston
no.
or while we're
No.
doing all the Boomtoberfest things the weekend before.
Probably not. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to cancel the October 15th, 2024 regular city council meeting.
Second.
All in favor? And it approves. Number 17, we'll consider and take appropriate action to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? And it passes. Thank you all for coming this afternoon.